Yep.
Yes, Stacy's here?
Yep.
Okay. Well, 7 a.m., let's call the meeting to order. Everyone is in attendance, we have 2 virtual, and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. First item up will be to approve the meeting agenda. Anything on the agenda? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Andrew, second by Brenda. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay. Hearing no discussion, this will be by roll call. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye, and I'll start virtual here. So Stacy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Molly? Andrew?
Aye.
Agenda carries. Opportunity for visitors to address the board. I think we're good there. So we'll move on to some acknowledgements here. 2026 valedictorian, Allie Thompson, and salutatorian, Morgan Korf, are activity workers for the 25-26 school year, substitutes for the 2025-26 school year, and spring all-state athletes. We have softball silver team academic, we have golf all-state Izzy Grablin, golf team academic state champions, we have track team academic all-state girls gold, Morgan Korf, All-State, 4x200, Academic All-State. Aaliyah Stringer Ferris, All-State, 4x200. Megan Guler, All-State, 100 meters, 4x200. Academic All-State. Ellie Carlson, All-State, 4x200 meters, Academic All-State. Ariana Hovland, Academic All-State. Cameron Kirkwood, Academic All-State. Track Team Academic All-State Boys Gold. Aiden Checo D'Souza, All-State Pole Vault, Academic All-State. Andrew Checo D'Souza, Academic All-State. Jack Welch, Academic All-State. Edwin Escobar, Academic All-State. Brady Larson, Academic All-State. It's quite a list. You have anything to add, Mr. Korf?
Congratulations to all the individuals and teams. Congratulations to our valedictorian and salutatorian. I want to thank all our activity workers for the 25-26 school year for all their time and their effort to make all our events happen and be successful. Also, thank you to our substitutes from subbing for our certified staff and our non-certified staff. I want to thank them all for filling in and making things continue to roll well in our school district. So thank you, and congratulations again to all the students, coaches, for all their achievements this spring.
Anybody else want anything to add? Okay. We'll move on. We have a presentation here. So we have the fiscal year 28 long-term facility maintenance report from Mr. Martinez and Mr. Steves. How would you like to do this?
Well, I'll go over what we have up on the screen. As you know, we're well into our summer. Trying to get these knocked out. So these are the first up as site projects at Martin Field. We need to do a little more painting on the roof of the press box. All the grounds. We have some areas that have gotten worn and some construction stuff and removal of fences and adding here and there. Just filling those in. Car field, we're going to build 2 dugouts down there and fix the backstop fence. Get that to be as good as it can be down there, I guess. Parking lots, we do this every year. We crack seal coated the Martin parking lot. Disc area fencing for better security when kind of not track events. We are gonna, when we move the disc area, we took out that northwest corner. The fencing, we were just up there yesterday and looked at how we're gonna route that, and I think we came up with a nice solution, so that'll get done. It'll be better for, like, when we have football games and stuff up there. We're gonna add a little bit of fencing on the north end of the elementary playground. Kindergarten kids like to play down on that low area, and to keep them from running out in the street when they're chasing the ball if it gets going. That was a request by staff and Mr. Nelson. In the front of the elementary, I don't know if you've had the pleasure of trying to get through there in the spring when we have the freeze thaw. That sidewalk that goes to door 3, which is the first grade door, is low, and the water has nowhere to go except over that, and it freezes and thaws, and we have an issue there. We don't want anybody to fall, so we're put a lot of sand, and we're always trying to do stuff. So what we did, or doing, is we added a drain. The board underneath the parking lot, so it comes out at what I call Lake Wiesner down there. And it would eventually go there anyway. And then we're gonna remove that sidewalk and raise it the first 50 feet up, so it hopefully will not have that same problem. Car field, we have goalposts we need to fix. The press box, at soccer, we're gonna insulate. It gets pretty hot in there when they use it during the summer. There just some other maintenance on some flag poles. We did that north parking lot. There was a catch basin that was added in when we did construction here back in 2016 that was higher than the surrounding area around it. So we lowered that. Elementary, we had some outside brickwork, and then they recalked their expansion joints is what I was trying to think of. They recaulked those. We have some room moves. So in kindergarten, we're replacing some sinks and faucets, and we're doing flooring in kindergarten rooms. Auditorium, there's a couple of fire marshal violations that we need to take care of, that some old curtains and our smoke dampers need some new hardware on them. Lockers, just a lot of routine stuff, that we have annually. Our epoxy floors we have throughout. We take a few of those every year and put a new top coat on them. They have worked out very well for us. Have a little sheetrocking to do in a couple hallways. Door 7, that's down by the foyer, by the concession stand, that they put like a laminate by the window, and when you have windows, they tend to sweat, and that laminate has warped. We had to do the same thing down by the auditorium a couple of years ago, so we took care of that. A couple seats in the Legend Gym that ended up with some holes in them. We got to fix those. Just some other plumbing to do in the art room. We have some routine painting, repainting some room moves that we have. We're going to repaint the stage floor. That's every probably 3 years that we do that, paint black. And then we have a south door in the Legend Gym we need to replace. But yeah, ongoing. Like we see, a lot of this stuff is just keeping up and replacing. We're well underway. We only have a little less than 3 months to get this stuff done. Most of it is done by my staff and I. We figured some of the things we have to contract out, and we have them on the schedule, so we'll get everything wrapped up before the end of August, which will be here faster than I want to admit. So, any questions?
I do. As far as our roofs go, how do we have a maintenance plan going for that for when the time comes and we need to?
Yep, so when we, the high school roof replacement, the main stuff was done in 16. when we were into our construction project. There were a couple that were a little bit older than that, like over the old cafeteria, which is now the Commons, and another one over like the old bell tower. Those are a little older, but they're well within our, 25 to 30 years is what we get.
Okay.
Our next roof replacement we're looking at doing is the elementary. We have our newest addition, which is 95. So now we're 20-some plus years old, or 30-some years old, and then we're looking to add kindergarten, band, Head Start, the gym over there. And we have prices on that, and gonna work it in to
Okay.
some long-term stuff, so.
Sure, okay.
So as far as that, our roofs go, we're setting good, but yeah, it is an ongoing because it's a very expensive upkeep, to do roofs. But we have a plan, and just gotta work that plan.
So with our long-term planning is that we will look at two things: facilities and the grounds, and programming. And we will have a focus on facilities, and we'll be looking at items like that need to be fixed, improved, things like that. So, yeah, and we're gonna hopefully do an assessment if the board approves this morning of our facilities, so you'll get a report of an assessment of all our buildings and grounds.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, anything else? Rudy?
Martinez.
I was contemplating on taking my jacket off or not.
Well, you'll freeze if you do.
I'll just roll the jacket. All right, so we'll talk about the funding mechanisms for long-term facility maintenance. Great plan that started 2017 going into 2018 to really help school districts with aging buildings. A couple of things regarding the revenue. The revenue, we receive $380 per pupil unit. It takes into account also the age of the building. Initial revenue for us is about $370,000. However, part of those $370,000 is committed to help pay our debt. So back in 2014, when we issued our bonds, part of that debt qualified as long-term facility maintenance. So that's why we receive only partial amount. The second piece when it comes to LTFM is the state looks at an equalizing factor. That equalizing factor comes into play based on our tax base. Because we have such high value in terms of land in our tax base, 100% of our LTFM gets funded through our levy, which means our local taxpayers are the ones funding a lot of, or 100% of all of our LTFM revenue. With all of that is said and done, we are looking at fiscal year 28. So the total amount that we are set to receive for fiscal year 28 is $198,000. So again, takes into account pupil units times the age of the building times $380 per student. Another thing to note why fiscal year 28, if we're only moving into fiscal year 27, that has to do with levy calendars, because all of it is going in towards our levy. Our levy goes from January 1st to December 31st. So we have to account part of that in fiscal year 28. Levy is always, so even when we approve in September our levy, you'll see that it'll say fiscal year 27, levy year 26. Because the calendars, our fiscal year calendar and the levy calendar overlap. That's why we are looking into fiscal year 28 when it comes to revenue. When we look at revenue, we budget each year for the amount of revenue that we are going to collect. And as I mentioned, that part of our LTFM revenue is tied to our 2014 debt service bonds. You see that in fiscal year 32, when that debt falls off, then we are projected to receive additional money when it comes to our LTFM. So Just wanted to point out a couple of those things. Any questions regarding the revenue before I move on to the 10-year plan? Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to the 10-year plan, okay? When it comes to the 10-year plan, we look at, one, the revenue that is coming in, and then we work with Trevor to then look at the needs of our aging building. And then we try to budget very conservatively to make sure that we use up very efficiently all of the money that is coming in for LTFM, to make sure that we upkeep on all of the safety standards, on all the codes, practically on all the codes that we need to update. LTFM really focuses on making sure that your building stays up to code. One thing that was introduced in legislation last summer were roof projects over 100K, okay? So any roof project that you are wanting to update, fix, or renovate, LTFM now allows us for that. But we have to be very strategically on how we get it approved by the state and how we incorporate it into our LTFM plan. So like Trev and Mr. Korf talked about, yes, we understand that we are going to eventually need some roof repairs. We are working with the long-term strategic plan and LTFM. So we have some options that we are going to look at, but we have to be very strategic on how we do that. We have looked at some areas, but again, we want to make sure that, one, we understand what our needs are, and then we're doing a full facilities assessment to make sure that that we allocate our resources very, very efficiently. When it comes to the plan, I'm going to focus primarily on the middle section that says Category 5. Category 5 is really where the majority of our 10-year out plan looks into. So all of the projects that Trevor talked about, all of those projects get quantified, and then we go ahead and we put them starting in Category 5 based on what the state codes them, right? So either whether it's keeping up the envelope of your building, to electrical, to plumbing, and then of course you see that category of roofs. But essentially what we do is we budget very efficiently. One thing with LTFM is they are restricted funds, right? So when we talk about restricted funds, is the money that we receive for LTFM can only be used for LTFM, right? So a lot of people get the misconception that, oh, it's just an additional revenue stream, let's pay higher wages, let's pay high, you can't be for that. It has to be for the upkeep of the building. So when we talk about restrictive dollars, this is one of those funding streams. Note, if you scroll down a little bit, Mr. Cord, okay. Because they are restricted funds, it has its own closing balance account. And we are allowed by the state to bring this particular fund balance into deficit. Now, we don't like to do that, right? The reason for is because if we go into deficit, you practically pay it from your next year's revenue, which we don't want to do that. So we very strategically budget dollars coming in, dollars going out for those restricted dollars. One thing to know with the 10-year plan, it's a moving target. Why do I say that it's a moving target? It is because we don't know, right? We are talking about being very strategic with these dollars. We're saying we're doing a long-term facility or a long-term plan in addition to a facilities assessment. But tonight, the roof can collapse, right? There's nothing that can prevent from that. So we do our best to make sure that we have a 10-year plan, but that changes even year to year based on priority. I'll give you guys one of the examples. Earlier in the fall, we were talking about redoing the track because we thought it was at the end of its life. And Trev met with a company that did an assessment on the track, and they told us it had a couple more years of useful life. So, right, we have a plan, but when we actually quantify that plan, a lot of the times these factors move along that 10-year plan. Okay? Any questions on the revenue or the expenses for LTFM? Okay, the last page is just a statement of assurances, which simply gives Mr. Korf the authority to sign it, and we submit this plan to the state once it's board approved. Okay, that is LTFM. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We move on to administrative reports. Mr. Cozen, we have an activities director report for us.
It's just a way to break down the budget.
I'm going to start off with Dean of Students, my Dean of Students position, and some areas that I want to focus on for next year. Continue focusing on building a positive culture, creating opportunities for our students. One thing really want to focus on is improving our detention and ISS process. So providing consistent accountability, clear expectations for our students and families. So kind of working with Trevor and talk to him on that about a new space for that. AD-wise, maximizing our student participation. Speaking with Mr. Korf and Mr. Steves again on evaluating our facilities and grounds, identifying areas where we can improve. If you look at our participation level, about 50% participation throughout all of our grades. Our awards and achievements, we went through all of them there. We had a lot of very successful student athletes this year. Certainly in our spring sports, but definitely in fall and winter as well. We have a lot of student athletes that made All-State and academic All-State. Our recent events, girls golf, Izzy Gravlin, 15th out of 88 golfers down at the state tournament. So good finish for her. Has another year to improve on that as well. Our track and field state tournament, all of our placers there, they did a phenomenal job. Our spring notes, continuing to finalize all of our fall, winter, and spring scheduling. We are moving to a new scheduling system, so I've been kind of working with all the HOL ADs. As a conference, we're moving to Bound. So that's our new platform that we'll be using next year for ticketing, registration. We'll use that for game day as well, being able to have the option to pay for attendance with debit card or credit card. Any questions that you guys have for me?
No? I think we're good. Thank you.
He's not here. I'll do his report.
Okay. And Mr. Clark will give Mr. Nelson's report.
Okay, at the elementary, they finished with 461 kids, K through 6. We had 34 teachers finish letters training over the last 2 years, so thank you to all the teachers for all their work and their time and their extra effort. This was a process, and it was a lot to juggle along with their teaching. So we appreciate all the teachers for all their work and helping to improve teaching and learning. Thank you to Ms. Moen for her years of service at Viking Elementary. She resigned and has taken another position in another school district, so thank you to Ms. Moen for all her work. Recommending this morning to hire Abby Nelson for elementary music to replace Miss Bone. And then we had a resignation in the spring in elementary special ed. And the recommendation is to hire Morgan Berg in that position. So, 2 recommendations there. And then thank you to all the students, parents, and staff for a great year at Viking Elementary School. And only 82 days until the first day of school for the 26-27 school year. So, Mr. Nelson is excited for next year. Any questions regarding elementary?
Did you want to just roll into yours, or?
We'll come back.
Okay. Ms. Januszewski?
Okay, our enrollment, we ended in May with 366 students. Summer meals are working their way at the high school with Mrs. Poach and Mrs. Jessen. They serve breakfast and lunch. Breakfast is from 8 to 9:30 and lunch from 11 to 12:30. They are very busy at that 12:30 time when all of the summer rec activities end, but it's fun to see kids there. Summer school, we started that Tuesday after Memorial Day. It's been kind of nice to start right after Memorial Day. We usually took a week off and then got going, but we found over these last 2 years it's been nice just to get started right after Memorial Day. And they ended last Thursday on June 11th. Mr. Rare and Mr. Oki helped students complete those credits. It was a great experience for Mr. Oki as he is looking to start his teaching experience. Summer projects, gonna do some planning for next school year. As Mr. Cozen mentioned, he made it through year 1, but I'll say we made it through year 1. It was a good, first year is always fun. You're kind of figuring out each other's strengths and what works and what doesn't work. And then as we get to the end of May, I meet individually with teachers and I go through things they want to continue, things they want to stop, and things they want to change. And so at our final teacher workshop, I put all those together for staff and then we get in groups and I have them circle their top 3. So I'm gonna go through those as I plan for next school year and figure out how we can incorporate those top 3 for our staff and our students. Work through just some slight staff and handbook updates, nothing major there. And then ideas for staff development. And then PLC's goals and focus. We talked in one of our PLCs last year about REDACT. I think sometimes always feels like a very English-heavy type of legislation, but we're looking at how can we incorporate REDACT across all of our departments. So that will be my thought is how can I make that a goal for all of our PLCs as we work through next year. And then we have a new student management system coming through that will look a little bit different for students, staff, and parents. And then I've mentioned that we purchased a new career exploration software, so that'll be a fun thing to incorporate for our students as well as we keep working towards that goal of them all having a plan when they graduate. That is all that I have. Questions?
Any questions? I don't hear any, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez,
All right.
you're up again.
Okay, going into the treasurer's report for the end of May. As you guys remember from last month, I talked about our revenue significantly spiking up at the end of May because we received the second half of our levy. You're gonna see those numbers being reflected, and you see that in revenue under local revenues. So you can see that we received all of our levy, which is now at about 101%, which is good. We want that. It's also the first time in a long time that our revenue actually outperformed our expenditures, which is, again, another place to be at. You can see that our total revenue is at 95.33% when our expenditures are at 89.46. Page 1 again talks about our entire budget, right? Includes all of our operating funds in this first graph or in this first chart. One thing to note though, you still see that we have about $757,000 of outstanding revenue out there in addition to $1.7 million of expenditures, right? So now we go into the month of June. I've got keep it still one, stay up. Thank you. We stay into the month, we go into the month of June, right? And then this is, I explained a little bit last month where we talked about that the month of June, we call it a payoff month, where we take the remaining expenditures of our teacher contracts and then we bring it back into June so we can account for it. We have to recognize those expenditures in our fiscal year, which ends in June. So right now, I'm working on make sure that we bring and we allocate those expenses in the month of June. So that $1.7 million will eventually get recognized in the month of June. As far as the majority of this remaining revenue that we have to collect, majority of that is state aid that will be put into our books as receivable. So this is that holdback that the state keeps to make sure that they balance their books and then they pay us about that 10% over next year, okay? Then we focus down into just our general fund, which is our big fund, our big operating fund. And same thing here again, reflects the revenue, the local revenue that was collected through our levy, which brings our total collected actual to 94.86%, while expenses remain at 88%. And same concept here, you see that $648,000 is still outstanding of revenue, which will go into our receivables, and then $1.4 million in expenses that we'll recognize in the month of June that are still out there. Then we'll keep scrolling down. Okay, those that are visual, this is our revenue versus expenditures of our entire funds, and you can see the green line for the month of May outperform expenditures. And again, we talked about we can very easily pinpoint month to month those peaks and valleys in this chart. Month of May, we see that revenue outperformed. Why? Because we collected the second half of our levy. Okay. Then we go into our cash flow. This is the money that goes in and out. We started our investment at $4.5 million, and then we ended at $6.8 million. Again, why did that spike up significantly? All related to the second half of our levy. In our checking account, we started with $49,000. We had total deposits of $1.3 million. We had total bills that went through our account for $687,000. Total payroll costs were $428,000, leaving us with $313,000 cash on hand, for total combined cash on hand of just a little over $7.1 million. And again, the visual chart then gives us that projection that we talked about, where we start our investment, and you can see the trajectory throughout our fiscal year. Right now, month of May, you see those $6.8 million, very, very healthy balance, but that will get eaten up eventually, and then we'll always end at about that $5.5 million in our investments, okay? Two journal entries, just simply to talk about just an adjustment journal entry. Softball team use some of our kitchen equipment for their fundraiser, so this is practically just offsetting that expense they used in our kitchen, taking it away from their revenue generated. And then an adjustment that we had to do related to our health insurance bill, just because people adding onto our plan, so we have to account for that. The rest is just the payables that go through it. I'm not gonna go through every single one, but you guys can definitely see those. questions on the treasury report before I make recommendations and other pieces on the agenda today?
Any questions? No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, perfect. Quick recommendation today, you're going to see that we have the Head Start lease that's up for renewal. That's a yearly lease that we have with Head Start. It runs from August to the end of July. Great partnership that we have with Head Start. They serve our students. We rent them a couple of spaces at the elementary. Right now, the Head Start lease is set at $8,000 a year, which is a very, very good market price for us with a nonprofit organization. And again, we're not in it to make money, we're in it to make sure that those students get served and those students receive the educational services that we can't take on at this moment. Okay? Then we go into the big thing, which is the fiscal year proposed budget. I'm gonna just go into some key highlights, but if any of you guys wanna come in and chit chat about everything that goes into that budget, my office is open. Please come in, we'll chit chat. I love talking about these things. First thing you'll see is on page 1 is practically our officials, our elected officials. That's our schedule of our elected officials in addition to our administrative staff, and then we'll keep going down. We'll go to page 2. Page 2 is our strategic plan for our school district. So a lot of the times what we do is we marry our strategic plan to what our funding allocations are. So it helps us, it gives us a clear vision on how we allocate those resources. Page 3 is a message from our superintendent, simply talks about who we are as a district, some key focuses from his office, so it's always a good message for our community to read. Then we'll move on to the next page. The next 2 pages is for anybody that is reading the budget, understands the structure of our budget. So this is just information that is widely shared through NDE, MREA, just so people understand the different concepts when it comes to how we build our budget, how we account for our budget, and how we allocate those resources. So we'll go past this page and the next page, and this page as well. This is just how we categorize things. Then we really get into our meats and potatoes of the budget, and I'll just point out some quick highlights for the thing. Primarily overview of the budget is we start from our audited year, which was last year, fiscal year 25. We look into the projection of how we're going to end in fiscal year 26, and then the projection of how we're going to end in fiscal year 27. In this particular budget, I also gave the projected outlook into fiscal year 28, and I'll get to that why. Okay. Big things for legislative updates. So remember that the state funds us in biennium, so every 2 years. This legislative session ended in the middle of biennium. A lot of the times it's called a policy year. One thing to note though is we have 3 things that happen in the 26th legislative session. First one is the fiscal year formula allowance went up. We already knew that. It went up 2.96%. That's about $7,683 per APU, or adjusted pupil unit. So when you guys hear me talk about ADMs and students, so this is that category piece where they go into those 3 phases of accounting students. Then they give us 120% on grades 7 through 12, and then the last adjustment they do is the number of service hours that the student was actually in her school versus what we said. Okay, so attendance, very important. So that went up, right, which is great. Everyone's like, hey, we're getting more revenue. We'll get to that. Okay. Big thing that happened in this legislative session was the loss of compensatory revenue. So this was our huge focus. We advocated, we wrote all of our legislators, Mr. Korf went down to the Capitol to advocate for us. Mr. Jordan Rasmussen was on speed dial on my phone, and I think he heard a lot from me. But essentially what ended up happening with compensatory revenue is they removed lunch applications from the equation, and that gave us a big financial hit. How big of a financial hit? If you scroll down just a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. Up, right here. So at the beginning of the page, how big of a hit? $203,000. Okay, that's a big revenue hit for our district, right? And it all had to do with the state modifying their funding formula for compensatory revenue. So I go back to the first bullet point where, yes, the funding formula increased, great, but compensatory revenue went down. So essentially what that ended up happening is the revenue that we get for the funding formula got eaten away by the loss of the revenue. And I'll point that out in the fiscal, when we get to the numbers of the budget. Other big things that happened, one was last year, the state created 2 task forces. They created the compensatory revenue task force that was supposed to be looking into compensatory revenue and make a recommendation. They did not do that. I applied for that task force, and I did not get selected. They still don't have a recommendation. So compensatory revenue continues to be a main focus for us because we still don't know what's gonna be next year. Special education is a huge topic right now. They created the Blue Ribbon Task Force. They also did not make a recommendation. We know that special education is going to continue to be looked at, and primarily the cross subsidy. Right? What is cross subsidy? Cross subsidy is the amount that we go over in terms of revenue so we get revenue for special education, but we always have more expenditures. The difference between the expenditures and the revenue that we receive in a fiscal year is called the cross subsidy. So the state is looking into the cross subsidy saying, hey, districts, if you guys can't get that cross subsidy under control, it is gonna be a local education agency responsibility. What does that mean? It means that we're gonna have to figure out how to balance our special education department. Okay? So, big focus here. Again, the Blue Ribbon Task Force has not made a recommendation on how they wanna balance the special education world. So, big focus there. We do have a win. That win comes related to 2 things. The first one goes into the second bullet point that says lawmakers advance a proposed permanent school fund constitutional amendment, right? That is related to public lands. So the state has public lands throughout the entire state. They generate revenue, and then randomly they used to give us a piece of that revenue that they generate. That revenue would vary between $36,000 to about $80,000. So what's in that bill is school districts advocated and they said, hey, we need a more constant stream of revenue from these public lands. We need to make sure we know the allocation that we're gonna get, and then we need to have set dates on how we're going to receive them. Because the state sometimes would pay us in January, sometimes they would pay us in November. It was very sporadic. So now, in the November elections, in the November ballot, there will be a question related that if you are in favor of the state giving us a better predicted revenue stream from this permanent school fund lands. Anybody that's voting on November 3rd, vote yes. We want to have a more steady stream of revenue. Okay? The big one was seasonal rec. Okay? So for the first time since the early 2000s in legislation, we were, they're going to take into account seasonal rec for our operating referendums. However, MDE is gonna pick up the bill. So similar to what we had with the Ag to Credit bill, where the state paid portion that our farmers were paying, the state is now going to pay portion of what seasonal rec should be paying when it comes to operating referendums. The premise here is to help rural districts across Minnesota pass more operating referendums, right? So now when we go in and we try to look into operating referendums, the tax base for seasonal rec will be included, which will spread our tax base, which means that if we ever pass an operating referendum, the tax impact to our constituents will be significantly lower if we remove seasonal rec out of the equation. So that's very big, right? That is very big for our school district. What it means for us today, it means that when we talk about levy in the fall, our taxes to our taxpayers should go down because we're now including seasonal rec into our operating referendums. And we have one operating referendum for $350 per pupil, which the majority of our resident districts and businesses were paying, but now we're adding seasonal rec into the equation. So huge win for our districts and greater Minnesota. All right, now we're gonna skip all the way to the numbers. Okay, perfect, right here. So, in terms of the numbers, fiscal year 26, we are saying that we are projected to end right at about $3 million of fund balance. That's going to be increased from the last year. You can see that last year's audited amount was 2.8. Then we go into the projected fiscal year 27, which is what you are approving today. We're saying we're going to start our projected fiscal year 27 at $3 million in our general fund. We're going to receive $12.7 million in revenue. We're going to have expenses of 12.6, increasing our general fund balance to $3.1 million. Now, again, I go back into the funding formula increased, but because the compensatory revenue went down, you can see the comparative analysis between the revenue in fiscal year 26 and the revenue in fiscal year 27. And really, there's not much new dollars that we're bringing into our district, right? And how do we generate dollars? Based on students, right? And we know that from last year to this year, our ADMs or our student count has been steady, but we're still in a gradual decline. So that is one key focus. Then we go into the projection of our fund balance, Mr. Corp, if you go down. even with all this ups and downs and things that we're looking for in our radar, we still have a projected fund balance for 26, 27, and 28 to remain at about that 24% balance, which still keeps us within board policy of 22 to 25%. Lots of information that I threw at you guys. I'm going to just take a moment. If you have any questions, if you want me to elaborate on anything else, let me know. I don't even want to go further because I know we're pressed on time, so I'll stop right there.
Ms. Martinez, recommendation, we go to town parades and that, and we got our local legislators walking around, people running. Talking points for us to say to them regarding compensatory revenue and special ed, anything there that you recommend us to state to them real quick while they're walking by and shaking our hands? Yep, absolutely. First thing is, hey, don't reinvent the wheel when it comes to compensatory revenue. Add the lunch applications back into the equation. It's simple, just add it back. You guys took it out, add it back, okay? This is my speculation, is they very strategically did that so they could help fund for other state initiatives, okay? Again, the state is very, very smart, and I say that they have a sliding scale, right? They
when they increase or they have a new initiative, they borrow from another funding stream in our budget. So they do that very well. So you see legislators, talk to them, hold their ear, how to back lunch applications. It's that simple. It's that simple. When it comes to special education, same thing, okay? It's pretty easy,
Fully fund?
fully fund. There's no reason for us, we shouldn't have a cross-subsidy. The only reason why we have a cross-subsidy is because they pay us back in an average of 3 years. And why do they do that? Right, because they say that it takes a little bit longer for the state to pull the money from the federal government, right? And if this practice has been going on for decades, I would think that the state should have a surplus in their special education fund for them to pay us at 100%, right? There should be no 3-year average where they pay us back what we spent in a fiscal year. The state created the cross subsidy and now they're wanting us to fix it. So it's that simple, is pay us at 100%, dollar for dollar, in the year that the expense is recognized, so we don't have a cross subsidy.
Special ed cuts impacts ADSES. ADSES is a program that we have at the elementary school, so ADSES falls under the special ed umbrella. ADSES is a program that we get to pull kids out to help them with like reading in small groups and one-on-one and one-to-one. So it's been a very good program at the elementary school that we want to continue to offer. But with cuts, that will impact that.
Yep. So this year, the main focus with special education was we received cuts in special education transportation. So we're not receiving the same amount of funding in special education transportation. Now the big ticket item is that cross subsidy piece, right? So if the blue ribbon cannot come up with a recommendation, they're gonna put the responsibility on districts to say, hey, figure out how to reduce the cross subsidy. That is the budget.
How would you like us to read that in a motion?
Just as it's stated there, just approve the preliminary
As
fiscal year
presented.
27, yep, as presented.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Martinez? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Gore?
Okay, just a few items here with our enrollment. K-12 enrollment, we ended this school year at 829. We ended the 24-25 school year at 808 students K through 12, so that was positive. Including preschool through 12th grade, we ended at 934, and last year we were at 915. So going to our marketing, just going down here, a couple bullet points. Marketing team has been meeting, talking about our summer marketing, looking at sending out brochures about our district the week of July 13th, so mid-July. We're also discussing how to connect with students that open enroll and homeschool. So we're looking at, the admin's discussing having some type of invitation to either an open house or to contact the office to set up a tour and learn more about our schools at the elementary and high school. So that's in discussion. We'll communicate more that here in July. Going to our long-term planning, the focus of our long-term plan, like I stated before, is how might we provide programs and facilities that meet the current and future needs of our students, staff, and communities. So we're going to focus on 2 topics: programming, facilities. Along with that is that we have on the agenda this morning about approving SiteLogic assessment, looking to hire SiteLogic to do buildings and ground assessment to provide to the committees in the fall with the long-term planning an assessment, and it's a broad overview assessment. It's not very detailed. They would put together an assessment of all our buildings and grounds so our committees can use that information, okay, to make recommendations. So we're looking to have 2 focus groups when we're talking committees, 2 focus groups, and then a student success group and then there will be a leadership group. Any school board members that are interested in being on any of those committees, please email me and let me know if you are interested. Meetings are going to be during the day and evening. Okay, so I just met with True North Consulting, the group that's leading us through this long-term planning here on Monday. We are putting a timeline together. I will share that timeline with you, and you can see the dates and times, and then you can let me know if you have any interest or have questions about being on one of those committees, groups, okay? We're also looking at a survey. We'll be doing a survey to survey students, staff, and community members. We're working on that survey. I will share that survey with you in July. Then what we're going to do is working on translating into different languages that survey. So that is kind of our next steps here. What we're doing here is organizing these committees. In July, we'll be contacting people that would be interested. If there's anybody interested, they should contact me. If they want to be part of these committees. We're going to be looking for community members, students, and staff to be on these committees. Okay? Any questions with long-term planning?
You have any questions?
I don't have a question, Brian. I just want to just say thank you for all the work you guys are putting into and thoughtfulness with this process. So thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, talked about marketing, policy committee. Policy committee, we're going to meet here. We're going to set up a date and time over the next 2 weeks. I'll be emailing the policy committee to see what works for all, to look over policies. A few school board agenda items. We talked about the under consent items. We talked about the resignation of Ms. Moen. Acknowledge the resignation of Michael Vogel as a part-time custodian at the elementary. Acknowledge resignation of Nissenberg at elementary paraprofessional. We talked about the hires of Morgan Berg and Abby Nelson, the recommendations. Also recommend approve the hire of Parker Severson as junior varsity girls basketball coach. Mr. Martinez with the audit engagement letter, that's a yearly letter that we get that we want to approve, that is engaging Ide Bailey to complete our audit. Ms. Martinez talked about the Head Start lease agreement. I talked about the Site Logic assessment, having them come in and doing a broad overview assessment to provide that information to the committee so they can have information to look at. Under business items, approve the resolution accepting donation. That is a monthly resolution that we do, accepting donations. Mr. Martinez talked about the next couple items with the budget and maintenance plan. The school board meeting schedule, just so you know, those are usually on the third Monday or Wednesday with summer meeting times in the morning at 7 a.m. The September to May would be at 6 p.m. Approve the resolution of membership for the State High School League. That's a yearly resolution that we complete. So we are part of the State High School League for all our activities. And then the last resolution is for establishing dates, which would be July 14th through the 28th for our terms that are up on our school board. Big Rock's coming up. July 22nd would be a regular school board meeting in the morning at 7 a.m. if approved. August 19th would be a school board meeting at 7 a.m. August 31st, just thinking ahead. Mr. Nelson's thinking way ahead for that first day of school. We're going to think ahead for the staff picnic. So we will have workshop the week of the 31st. So past practice has been that first Monday evening that we have a staff picnic, that we invite all our staff and their families to come to a staff picnic for us to meet and talk with all our staff and their families, and we get our staff together. So, last item I have is communication. You know, in the last fall we had a little hiccup with our communication, with our Instant Alert and that. Then we went and
have Parent Square now. So we're looking at digging a little bit deeper of what Parent Square can offer our district with our staff and how we can communicate better. So we're setting up some training there with Parent Square. And the last reminder, just so you know, June 19th is this Friday, which means we will be closed. So there will not be any breakfast, no lunch, and then there's no Club Vikes on Friday. So buildings will be closed this Friday. Questions for me?
Any questions? No, I don't hear any, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll roll along to consent items. You have item A, approved board meeting minutes, May 18th, 2026, regular school board meeting. B, financial claims and May bills. C, treasurer's report. D, personnel, we have acknowledged resignation of Michaela Mullen as 1.0 music teacher at the elementary. Acknowledge resignation of Michael Vogel as halftime custodian at the elementary. Acknowledge resignation of Anissa Berg as 1.0 elementary paraprofessional. Now approve the hire of 1.0 elementary special education teacher. Approve the hire of Abby Nelson, 1.0 elementary music teacher. Approve the hire of Parker Severson as junior varsity girls basketball coach. Approve the audit engagement letter with Ian Bailey for 25-26. Approve the 2026-2027 Head Start lease agreement. And approve SiteLogic IQ assessment. So do we have a motion and a second for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Motion by Brenda, second.
Second.
Second by Andrew. Okay, consent items, but is there any discussion before we move on? Okay, hearing no discussion. All those in favor of approving the consent item signify by saying aye, and this will be by roll call again. So, Stacy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Molly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Consent items carried. We have 3 resolutions again, so I get to read. Business items. Item A, approve the resolution accepting donations. Do we have a motion and a second for that?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Andrew. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Molly. Any discussion? So this is a resolution, so a resolution accepting donations, whereas every such acceptance shall be by resolution of a governing body adopted by a 2/3 majority of its members, expressing such terms in full. Therefore be it resolved that the school board of Pelican Rapids Public Schools, ISD 548, gratefully accepts the following donations as identified below. Laura Klimek, $100, student account. Laura Klimek, $100, Viking PT. So this is a resolution, so we're gonna start virtual here. I see Chris on my screen, so Chris, how do you resolve?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Molly? Andrew?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Item B is to approve the 2028 fiscal year long-term facilities maintenance plan. And I'll make that motion to approve the 2028 fiscal year long-term facilities maintenance plan as presented. Do we have a second?
I can second.
Okay, second by Stacy. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving my motion signify by saying aye. I'm gonna do this roll call. Chris?
Aye.
Stacy?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Molly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
It carries. C, approve the 2026-27 fiscal year proposed budget. Who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2026-27 fiscal year proposed budget.
So we have a motion by Andrew. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Molly. Okay. Any discussion on the budget? Okay, Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the budget signify by saying aye. We'll do this roll call again. So Stacy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Molly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item D will be to approve the 2026-27 school board meeting schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the 26-27 school board meeting schedule.
Okay, motion by Brenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
I heard Chris first. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the school board meeting schedule. Any discussion on the schedule? Hearing no discussion, this will be by roll call again. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We're gonna start with Andrew today.
Aye.
This time. Molly?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Aye.
Brenda? Chris?
Aye. What's the state possible tornadoes?
Stacy?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next one is to approve the 2026-27 resolution for membership to Minnesota State High School League. Do we have a motion and a second for that?
I'll make the motion to approve the 2026-27 resolution for membership of the Minnesota State High School League.
Motion by Andrew, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Brenda. Any discussion on the resolution before I read a little bit? So this is the 2026-27 resolution for membership into the Minnesota State High School League membership renewal form. Resolve that the governing board or entity of Pelican Rapids High School located in the state of Minnesota delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics referred to in Minnesota statute section 128C.01 to the Minnesota State High School League, and so hereby certifies to the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes. Further resolve that the school listed is authorized by this, the governing board of the said school district or school, to renew its membership in the Minnesota State High School League and to participate in the approved interscholastic activities and athletics sponsored by said league and its various subdivisions. Further resolved that the governing board or entity hereby adopts the Constitution, bylaws, policy, rules, and regulations of said league, and all amendments thereto as the same as are published in the latest edition of the league's official handbook on file at the office of the school district or school, or as appears on the league's website as the minimum standards governing participation in said league sponsored activities and athletics. Further, the administration and responsibility for determining student eligibility and for the supervision of such activities and athletics are assigned to the official representatives identified by this governing board or entity. Okay. So this is a resolution, so we'll do it how do you resolve. So Stacy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Molly?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Resolution carries. Next item is to approve the resolution establishing dates of filing affidavits of candidacy. Filing dates are July 14th through the 28th of 2026. Okay, so this will need a motion and a second. I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to approve the resolution establishing dates of filing affidavits of candidacy. Do we have a second?
Second.
I can second.
Okay.
Or,
Okay, Stacy, got it. Okay. Any discussion before I go on to the resolution? Okay, resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District number 548, State of Minnesota as follows. The period for filing affidavits of candidacy for the office of school board member of Independent School District number 548 shall begin on July 14, 2026, and shall close on July 28, 2026. An affidavit of candidacy must be filed in the office of the school district clerk, and the $2 filing fee paid prior to 5:00 p.m. on July 28, 2026. Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause notice of said filing dates to be published in the official newspaper of the district at least 2 weeks prior to the first day to file affidavits of candidacy. Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause notice of said filing dates to be posted at the administrative offices of the school district at least 10 days prior to the first day to file affidavits of candidacy. The notice of said filing dates shall be in substantially the following form. And then it has how it looks. And then the general election shall be held on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026. At the election, 3 members will be elected to the school board for a term of 4 years each. Affidavits of candidacy are available at the school district clerk, school district office, 310 South Broadway, Pelican, Minnesota. The filing fee for this office is $2. A candidate for this office must be an eligible voter, must be 21 years of age or more on assuming office, must be a resident of the school district from which the candidate seeks election for 30 days prior to the general election, and must have no other affidavit on file for any other office at the same primary or next ensuing general election. Okay. So this is a resolution. So Andrew, how did it resolve?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Brenda?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution carries. So we have an election coming up. So last item, the upcoming meetings. We have the next meeting. We'll all be meeting at 7 a.m. on July 22nd. August 19th, regular meetings, 7 a.m. And we have the picnic on August 31st, 2026 at 6 p.m. So who would like to make the motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Andrew. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Molly made it.
Hey.
Any discussion on adjourning? Hearing no discussion, we'll do this roll call again. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Stacy?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Molly?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.